Major, obviously moving forward to Tech this week. Initially, what do you guys see from them? They play another Pac-12 opponent last weekend in Arizona State. What do you guys get off of them from film early on?
Early on in preparation, very, obviously just the tradition continues in terms of just explosive offense. Can put a lot of points on the board. Play with great tempo, have a lot of different receivers and running backs involved. Great ball distribution. Defensively, playing well. Their defensive line, I can tell a difference from last year to this season in terms of how they're playing up front. They continue to be aggressive in the back end, play with great eyes, see things well. So have a tremendous challenge for us this Saturday.
Coach, how do you feel? Do you feel like Peyton Turner has earned some more playing time this week, or is that going to be indicative of practice?
It'll be indicative of practice, but production in games obviously matters. But how much he plays will be how comfortable he is in practice and how well he practices. And we need to continue to develop depth as we go throughout the season. We're still a young football team. We have some good players with experience that have played a lot of snaps, but we have to continue to develop and grow as the season goes along. And he's one of those guys that needs to add into the mix up front.
Quick follow-up. Did you see Turner on the sidelines after his two big plays? Do you know how he handled that for the rest of the game, knowing his role on the team?
I did not. Told him congratulations, but continue to just kind of watch the flow of the game. Played well for second game of the year, but needs to just continue to develop. And that's going to be the common theme of a lot of the freshmen that have played early on in the season, is just continue to develop. Not only just on the field in terms of scheme, but in the weight room and adding weight and those type of things as the season goes along.
Major, I realize the game's not about you, but when you look at Texas Tech as your opponent, memories in terms of just what you played against them at Tech, you have some familiarity with them.
Right. They do a great job as a program. Just kind of stressing you with the tempo and the offense. That's what gets a lot of attention, and I know that irritates the defensive side of the ball, because I've been a part of programs where they may focus on a back, a Ricky Williams, and not talk about our defense. So I understand that from that standpoint. But they've done a great job of playing on both sides of the ball early this season. And their offense continues. Coach Kingsbury and their offensive staff has done a great job of distributing the ball to different backs, different types of backs, different wide receivers. The quarterback has a good feel for what they do offensively, and there's really no secret on how to beat them. You can't waste possessions. You can't turn the football over. You have to be sound on special teams because they're going to stress you from an offensive standpoint.
You ever lost them? Do you ever have a tortilla moment? Or?
Oh, I lost him. I lost him the first time I played him. Yeah, in '98. We lost 42-35. Spike Dykes and us beat them there in Lubbock.
With you playing Tech, a more high-powered offense than you've seen your first couple of games, what do you tell your defense, and I guess what's your message to them, and how do you prepare for a game like this where you're going to deal with a team that can score the ball really quickly?
Well, you have to play 60 minutes, and I've been a part of those kind of games. That game that I just mentioned in '98 was a 60-minute game. It came all the way down to the last drive. 2003, I was a grad assistant. And I remember Chance Mock threw a ball in the end zones. B.J. Simmons had just drove right down the field and scored right before that drive, and then we had to go back down and score. And probably the biggest thing that pops into your mind as a coach, and just how to prepare your team mentally for this game, is there's a lot of ebbs and flows because there's so many points scored. Now that's if we're doing our job offensively. But you've got to stay in it. You really can't pay attention to the scoreboard. We talk to our team all the time about scoreboards are imposters. Early, you can't pay attention to it, whether you're up 14 or you're down 14. Same thing we said in the locker room in Tucson. Same thing we said in the locker room last weekend. That's a general theme. Sometimes you can start evaluating the game before the game's even been played. So settle down, settle into your pads, pay attention to your assignment, play with great effort, and don't pay attention to the scoreboard. Just, each and every play, each and every series.
As far as offensively, Linnell Bonner had a pretty big game. He about 132 yards, I believe. And I was just wondering if that was something you saw in practice in him this last week, or is it just that the coverage was being left wide open, the lanes were being open for you guys? Or
he did a great job. He did a great job on game day. and performed well and produced. And, you know, we just expect that out of him each and every week. He's shown us that he can do that, and he set the standards, so just want to continue to see him do that in practice as well.
Two questions. First, the special teams, they look like they were able to get some things done on return. And secondly, you mentioned earlier about tempo of the game, pace. This past Saturday, your offense, it was pretty much pace. Whatever you wanted to do as far as the clock was concerned, you were able to either string a drive along or short kick it and just score quick.
Well, from a special team standpoint, was proud of our kickoff coverage unit. You know, some of that was, you know, just being where you're supposed to be. There were some mishandled balls by the kickoff return unit, so we were able to pin them inside the 15 a few times because of the way they handled the football. It wasn't so much what we did. We just showed up where we were supposed to be. There were some great plays from a punt team standpoint. I think we had 3 downed inside the 20, 1 inside the 10. We need to continue to do a great job on that unit. They blocked a punt last week to kind of, you know, create a little spark there before halftime for their offense. Field goal unit need to continue to be stouter or be better, quite honestly, up front in our field goal unit. And we tried a 47-yarder into the win. We just, you know, kind of found out a little bit about our kicker by taking that opportunity there, but you know, hit it accurately, but just probably pushed his range a little bit. From a kickoff return unit, we didn't get many opportunities, but we can continue to improve on that weekly in our drill work. From an offensive standpoint, they played faster. They played faster, a little bit more confidence in their assignment. You know, coming in from our game 1 to our game 2, which was most everybody's game 3. You know, a little bit more rhythm, a little bit more feel for what we were doing, but we just got to continue to develop. Nothing has changed. Nothing, you know, like we talk about as a team, just the how and why. How we do things and why we do things are very, very important. So let's continue to focus on those things and understand that we're a team that continues to grow. There's some inexperience at certain positions, so we need to continue to create some competitive experience in practice and try to develop that as best we can by how hard we go and what we do in practice.
After the game, you said that you guys didn't practice very well on offense last week. Is there any special focus you want to put on the offense this week, or just working on some of those things?
It's things that we have performed, so it was just more or less a standard that wasn't being met that I was just disappointed with by, you know, a handful of players. It wasn't as a whole, you know, but there's a handful of guys or so that'll taint your view of practice. And so, you know, just holding those guys to those standards from a head coach's standpoint, from a unit coach's standpoint, in terms of how they practice, and you know, it's either good enough or, you know, it's either here or there. There's no in between. So it was good to see them come out Sunday, you know, and practice hard, and the way they practiced, you could tell that they were focused on that fact. It was made as a point in the Sunday afternoon meeting that, listen, we're back to work, we're going to practice, and these are our habits, and this is what we do. If it's not, then, you know, everything that we talk about is just talk. So let's go put it on the field, and was proud to see them have a good, you know, focused practice, intense practice, and go full speed yesterday. So they'll have today off, get their bodies right, come back out Tuesday.
Major Kiki, I think it's Kute, leads the nation in receiving yards, but a lot of it comes after catch. Emphasis on tackling, you know, getting to the ball, that kind of stuff this week, a little bit more important just because of the ability that they have to break one. Yeah,
they play great in space, you know, and it's Kiki, I remember, you know, looking at him and recruiting him out of Lufkin. Very confident football player, great change of direction, very good hands, very difficult to tackle in space. You know, same thing with, you know, a lot of their other athletes as well. They'll do that even with their backs. They'll get Stockton out in space. I remember watching him as a freshman recruiting Malcolm Brown out of Cibolo Steel. So, you know, great skill players. Semenek does a great job of getting the ball to them. Very good quarterback. Understands the system, has been coached very well. So it's going to be a very big challenge for our defense to play in space with them and make tackles in open space.
I was curious, defensively, you have 8 quarters now of sampling to go off of. Before the year, you thought this could be a good unit once it came together, some of the younger parts. Is there enough of a sampling now to have an opinion on what you've seen from defense and maybe how good they can be, or what's still there that needs to be tuned up, so to speak?
There's so much football left. You know, there's 9 games left, and I'm not ready to start talking about how the book's going to end when we're only 2 chapters into it. So let's continue to work on how we do things, why we do things, how we practice. Let's put the premium on those things, how we prepare, and then we'll be able to at some point reflect and say this was or was not, the offense or defense or special teams that we thought. We believe that we have hardworking players and talented players, and the opportunity potential is there, but there's a lot of work to be done. Right now we're not releasing any injuries. We'll wait throughout the week and we'll release that stuff later.
Senior linebacker Matthew Adams was all over the field on Saturday, and is that something that he brings to the locker room and into practice as well? Just constantly, obviously he's a senior, so he's a leader, but is he just also constantly working on the team's defense as a leader? Yeah,
absolutely. He and Garrett Davis, both elected captains, and they're continuing to step into that role and grow in that role as well. And talk to all the captains about, you can be hired for a job. The title doesn't mean anything. You can be elected to a position. That title doesn't mean anything. You have to serve. And so as leaders, as you get more comfortable in what you're doing, it's time to serve and bring others along with you and serve your football team from that manner, just the same way as a head coach. You have to do certain things when you're in that position, whether it's your personality or not. And Matt has done that with physical play. He's continued to get better every day. It was a very difficult offense to get ready for last week. I mean, the personnel, the formations, the motions, the shifts, very difficult to just kind of pull the pin on some things in terms of pull the trigger on some things in terms of just your reaction, because they give you so much eye candy. But you could tell there were a few times in there where he was really dialed in, and you got a chance to see how physical he can be as an inside linebacker.
Major, I had a two-parter about the passing game. One, I wanted to get your opinion or thoughts on pass protection, how you thought the offensive line has done through 2 games. And then secondly, there haven't been as many drops. There haven't been hardly any drops. Is that a product of, maybe having some veterans like Dunbar and Bonner, or has been kind of a combination of some of the routes that they've run, where they've been in good position to make catches?
In terms of pass protection, we've got to continue to improve. We've done some good things at times, and there's been some times where we're like, as coaches and even players, we're like, what is that? That's not our standard. Our eyes are in the wrong place. We've got, bad position, but overall, it's been okay. We just need to continue to develop and get better at it. From a wide receiver standpoint, it always helps to have, like we talked about, the competitive experience. And you saw some guys make some great plays on the ball Saturday. So they just need to continue to do the same things and continue to work hard on it in practice. And that's usually, as we talk about, practice reps or game day reality. So we need to practice those things, those movements, the speed in which we play at, because that's the passing game. It's a lot of anticipation, a lot of timing, and if you're not operating at 100%, that anticipation and timing is false on game day, because now you're trying to play at a different speed. So we've got to play at that speed Tuesday and Wednesday.